Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Search Laboratory, focusing on Google Analytics 360 Suite. My name is Chris Attewell. I'm the Global Sales Director for Search Laboratory, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. The main presenter today is our Head of Digital Strategy, Jimmy McCann, who I'll be introducing shortly. For those not familiar with Search Laboratory, we were founded in 2005 and grew rapidly to become one of the UK's leading digital marketing agencies, before opening a first US office in New York in 2014. We specialize in running SEO and paid media campaigns on a global level and in multiple languages. And most importantly for this session, we're also an analytics partner agency and one of a small group of agencies in the UK who were approved to resell Google Analytics 360. Data science has really always been at the heart of everything that we do, and our team supports clients in all aspects of analytics, covering strategy, implementation, optimization, and attribution. On the subject of today's webinar, Google is continually developing its analytics offering and has been building out the 360 suite of products, which today includes attribution modeling, data analysis and visualization, on-site optimization, and audience building tools, amongst other things. For large companies with high volumes of web traffic, and indeed for any companies who want to take a more data-driven approach to their online marketing campaigns, the 360 suite now offers premium analytics tools to compete with the likes of Oracle and Adobe, but with the familiarity and ease of use that we expect from all of Google's products. So our mission today is to provide you with an overview of the 360 suite. We'll also run through some of the key benefits of Analytics 360 in comparison to standard analytics, sharing some practical examples of how these tools can be used to improve your own digital campaigns. In the time we have today, this will only be a top-level overview. However, we'll be covering this topic in more detail at an event we're running in London on Wednesday, 12th of July. We'll be sharing out more on the event in the email following up after the webinar, and look forward, hopefully, to seeing a lot of you there. So just to cover off a few housekeeping points, the webinar will last around 45 minutes in total, but there will be some time at the end for questions. We would love to hear questions, so please send these in via the chat function as we move through the presentation. We've set some time aside at the end and we'll aim to answer as many of these as possible. We are also recording the webinar and we'll share it out via email this week, so don't worry about taking notes or screenshots as we go along. So it's now a pleasure to introduce you our presenter for the webinar today, Jimmy McCann. Jimmy has been with Search Laboratory for over 10 years and has previously worked in both paid and organic search. Today, Jimmy works very closely with clients to develop digital marketing strategies, as well as very closely with Google's 360 team to build out our analytics offering. So over to you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. I'm Jimmy, Head of Digital Strategy here at Search Laboratory. And like Chris says, I'm here to talk to you today about what the Google Analytics 360 suite can do for you. So today I'm just going to give you a brief overview of Google Analytics 360, the suite, but then I'm going to dig in a lot more detail into Google Analytics 360 specifically. And then I'm going to talk a little bit around the differences between the standard version of Google Analytics and Google Analytics 360, and then show you some examples of how you can utilize some of these, the advanced features to enhance your marketing efforts. So the Google Analytics 360 suite is a suite of products that is, it's 7 products. So we have Google Analytics 360, the analytics platform. We have Attribution 360, which is an attribution-specific tool. And we've got Optimize 360, which is a conversion rate optimization and personalization tool. And we have Audience Center, which is a data management platform. And then we've got Surveys 360 and Google Tag Manager 360, the tag management platform. We've also got Data Studio, which is a free product available globally now, and that will plug into the various other tools within Google's enterprise stack to present data and produce easy to view dashboards from all of these different data sources. So there's also BigQuery, which isn't part of the Google Analytics 360 suite. However, it is part of the enterprise stack, and I will be referring to that today as well. So this suite of tools really is relevant for enterprise level companies who are ready to take that next step in their digital marketing efforts. So without further ado, I will start to talk a little bit more specifically around Google Analytics 360. So you may or may not be aware that there's data collection limits with Google Analytics Standard. So you have hit limits of 10 million per month on regular Google Analytics, and 360 will allow you to have up to 1 billion hits a month. Just to give you a bit more background around what hits are, so the standard implementation would just track page view hits. If you utilize some of the more advanced features and have a more advanced implementation, you might have e-commerce hits in the form of a transaction going into Google Analytics, and you also might track lots of detailed interactions in the form of events, and an event is also a hit. If you're doing these more advanced things, that can boost the number of hits that you require quite significantly. And I suppose with this hit limits, who this is relevant for is, this is if business might reach these data limits for standard, Google's not obliged to accurately continue tracking that over that hit limit. So at that point, you might be making marketing decisions based off flawed data, in which case you would require the 360 solution. Another feature of the data collection is freshness. So Google Analytics Standard will, make sure that they have all the data within 48-hour time period. With Analytics 360, they guarantee 4 hours. In actual reality of the situation is a matter of minutes. It's getting better all the time, and they're putting a lot of resource into how fresh the data, that goes into Analytics, how fresh that can go in there. So in terms of who that is relevant for, that's, a lot of businesses have weekly targets and they need that up-to-date data to then make better marketing decisions on a daily basis or hourly basis or whatever that might be. So the freshness is so important for those types of businesses who need to be reactive in their targets. The other feature, on data collection is roll-up reporting for properties, which is available in Analytics 360 and not in Standard. So a little bit more about roll-up reporting. So you can have different implementations using the different web properties for Google Analytics. So this example shows an international site for mysite.com. Yeah, they've got various international iterations of the site which have different analytics implementations. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be able to roll up into an aggregated global view. However, in Google Analytics 360, you can actually achieve that. So moving on to the service level agreement and support items. So in terms of support, Google Analytics 360 comes with 24-hour support. As sales partners ourselves and all of the sales partners have to adhere to this as part of their services package and implementation. In terms of data collection and reporting, Google has to be obliged to provide 99% of that uptime for the reporting and collection as part of that service level agreement. And as I mentioned before, the data freshness, they have to adhere to that 4-hour time frame 98% of the time as part of that agreement. And the reason for that is that enterprise level businesses need some guarantees to fall back on. There's a free tool that doesn't have those guarantees isn't something that some of these large companies would rely on for making their business decisions. So moving on to some of the extra features of Google Analytics 360. So there's an awful lot of there's heavy customization that you can do with Google Analytics 360. So in terms of custom dimensions and custom metrics, the standard version does allow you to utilize this feature. However, it's limited. So you're limited to 20 of each of the dimensions and each of the metrics, whereas you have 200 of those in Google Analytics 360. And just to define, what a dimension is an attribute, a metric is a measure of something. And some examples of metrics would be page views or sessions, and we have dimensions like browser or location, which are attributes of those users that are coming to the site. So to sort of highlight, this is an example of how you could use these custom dimensions and metrics. We're using this mysite.com example, which is a vehicle retailer, for example. We could have some custom dimensions such as favorite vehicle, favorite manufacturer, favorite model, and also then we can have a metric such as vehicles viewed, which would be quite useful to understand how how engaged they are with some of the products on the website. The intent to purchase, again, could be a useful thing to have, inferred from the behaviors of these users. This would be very useful when I come on to talk about some of the extra marketing features you can use with the rest of the Google Enterprise stack. So data-driven attribution is another feature of Google Analytics 360. Currently, you don't get this feature within standard analytics, but you do have it in 360. Just to sort of highlight this as well, you do need to be getting a significant amount of conversions to enable the algorithm to statistically model the data-driven element of the attribution. So you need at least 400 conversions over a 28-day period. And at least 10,000 paths, and by 10,000 paths, that is 10,000 user journeys. So yeah, you do need a certain level of conversion to actually generate this and utilize this feature. So just a little bit more about the data-driven attribution. This is a screenshot of the model comparison tool. So you can see that here I'm comparing the last interaction versus a data-driven model. And just to pick on the last column in there is the difference, so the percent change in conversions versus the last interaction. So you can see here that lots of the channels have had an uplift, direct's gone down, and actually display has significantly gone up, and we'd normally see this from display. The key thing to remember here is if you are using a last interaction model, then you're making your budgeting marketing decisions on your display spend from what the attributed value at a last interaction is. Then looking at this, that might change how you budget for display, given that there's a huge increase there, almost 400% for display. Moving on to another extremely important feature for Google Analytics 360, which is audiences. So again, this is similar to the custom dimensions and custom metrics in that you get 200 as opposed to 20. So where you can create these audiences using the segmentation feature, so you can build this on any combination of dimensions and metrics and engagements that you set as part of a segment, and then you can just build an audience from that. There's a button that says build an audience from the segment. this is a screenshot of a brand new report, actually. So this is being rolled out as we speak. It's coming very soon. And you can see that this report is going to be extremely important in measuring how your audiences perform. So you can see how each of these audiences performs in Google. And this is going to be extremely important when you are, utilizing the audience integration features with some of the other products, and then you can use this report to then measure how these different audiences are performing based on the things that you're doing to target those audiences. Which leads on to the other feature of these audiences, which is the integrations with the rest of the stack. These audiences underpin a lot of the 360 suite. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail around what you can do with DoubleClick and what you can do with Google Optimize 360 as well. So in terms of integrations, in DoubleClick you've got campaign data, impression data, and then with analytics you have the site behaviors. So what this integration does is it imports all the campaign data and impression data into analytics, and then you can understand how how people use this data alongside site behaviors to then optimize your display campaigns better. So an example report from the DoubleClick Bid Manager integration is this sites report. So you can see here that there's various websites where this particular example has had display ads showing on these particular websites, and I'm going to hone in on a couple here. So you can see there's 4 websites here, and if you look at the view through data, sorry, I'll explain the view through and click through. So click through is somebody clicking a display ad, and the view through would be somebody viewing the ad and then subsequently coming to the site at a later date. So in terms of view through, you're getting a lot more data quicker, and you're able to learn more about how these different elements of your display campaign are performing. So you can see here that compared to Forbes and Business Insider, the New York Times and Weather.com have a much better e-commerce conversion rate. So you might want to, change your targeting strategy more towards Weather.com or Forbes than you would to Forbes, for example. This is another report from the DBM integration. So these are some of the different ads, so the creatives that we're showing for these various campaigns in DoubleClick. And here we can see that there's the 2 very similar ads. One's just a little bit bigger than the other one. And you can see that the engagement metrics for the 160 by 600 are much stronger on the view through, at least, which means again you can use this information then to potentially optimize and use that sort of ad placement over the smaller one. So the other element of the DoubleClick integration is audiences. So you create and build audiences in Analytics 360, and then you can push them to products such as DoubleClick. So I'm just going to explain a little bit more about what you can actually do when you push those audiences into DoubleClick. So in terms of prospecting, you can build this audience. So here's a segment for all users, and you just click build audience, and then what happens then, so I've got an example here for mysite.com again. So we've built the all user audience, and then we can use all the third-party data from DoubleClick and target people who look like the all users audience. So we target a similar audience to those, and Google uses their third-party data on demographics, interests and behaviors to then target these people who look like your existing website users. in terms of retargeting, we could potentially, so hypothetically, we could do some data analysis and find out that motorcycle buyers tend to view 10 or more products in the week prior to purchasing. So we could, using the custom dimensions that we created, custom metrics, sorry, that we created earlier, we will be able to define an audience based on some of these specific items that are specific to the mysite.com. So a favorite vehicle could be a motorcycle that inferred from their behavior on the site previously, and then we could have tracked them viewing 10 vehicles in the previous 7 days. And then what we can do is, because people who bought motorcycles performed that behavior quite often, we can then target people who didn't purchase with specific ad messaging and creatives to try and improve and get them back to convert. So another integration, so I'm moving on from DoubleClick, is BigQuery, which I referred to earlier. So BigQuery is the big data warehouse that Google offers, and Google Analytics 360 integrates natively with this platform, so you can extract all the hit level data straight to Google BigQuery. You can't do that using the API. You're limited to a number of rows and a number of fields that you can export at once. So you have that integration and you have all of the analytics data in BigQuery, and what you can do with that is provide detailed user path analysis. So an example of that would be the one I just spoke about before, where we were able to analyze the behaviors of people who purchase and then target people like that. We can also use Google BigQuery to join Google Analytics data with your CRM data and other big data sources. So an example of this could be point of sale data, and you could then effectively join online and offline. So you could see whether some of the user journeys on the website resulted in physical sales in store. And then Google BigQuery, as well as all the other key enterprise products, integrates with Data Studio. So here you can analyze, produce easy to understand dashboards for insights and reporting as well. So the final integration I wanted to talk to you about is the Optimize 360 integration, which is the conversion rate optimization and personalization tool. So we, using the mysite.com example, we might be able to infer that from the initial session of a user, what their favorite vehicle is based on their browsing behaviors. So here we have that custom dimension called favorite vehicle is a car. So then on any subsequent sessions, we can create an audience from the favorite vehicle dimension. So we can then say have a cars audience, and then we can push that audience to Google Optimize 360, and then we can personalize the site more towards cars, whereas previously it was 50-50 on cars and motorcycles. So that brings me to the end of my quick run through on Google Analytics 360. So to summarize, the key features are that it's an enterprise level solution, it has seamless integrations, it's intuitive, familiar interface, you know, it's quite easy to use, and a lot of people are familiar with it. Key benefits are that it saves time, time analyzing, time joining data. It allows you to get the insights and then spend your budget more efficiently, and you know, you can actually do that over a quicker time period and improve performance fast. So I'll just leave you with this is a comparison between Analytics 360 and standard GA. This will be sent round in an email after the webinar, and so I'll just pass you back to Chris, who can close out.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Yeah, there's some details on there on the screen about the follow-up event that we're running in July. Again, we'll send out more information by email. It would be great to see lots of people there where we can go into more detail about 360. We did have some questions come through over the course of the webinar that I'd like to just pick up now with you, Jimmy, if that's okay. The first one being, how easy is it to upgrade if I'm on standard analytics? Jimmy, I think you may be on mute if you're still there.
Yep, I was on mute. So it's very easy to do. It's literally the click of a button to actually perform the upgrade. What us and other sales partners would do though is fully scope out the current implementation if you've already got standard analytics on there, and we would make sure that we implement upgrade the implementation. And we can also, if you've already got standard analytics on there, the unsampled data and the features would backfill 18 months as well. So it's very easy to do.
Okay, perfect, thank you. There's another question that tied into that one nicely actually, which was, so what kind of training and support is provided as part of the Analytics 360 license? Yep,
so Google do have webinars for all customers that they regularly do to run through new features which are coming on board all the time. But as well as that, as a sales partner, and all sales partners would spec that out, what the training need, and then build that into the overall package and service package that they provide.
Okay, thank you very much. There's another one we have here about the other tools. So do the other 360 tools such as Attribution and Optimize come as standard with the Analytics 360 license?
Only Tag Manager 360 would come as standard. Data Studio is free, as I say. The rest would have to be, put together in a package if you required any of those other tools at an extra cost.
Okay, thank you. And then actually there was one final question about what's the approximate cost of the license for Analytics 360? Obviously the standard version's free. If people are looking to upgrade, what's the typical cost?
It's the pricing is banded, so it's difficult to actually answer that definitively. It's an enterprise level tool, and there's I think under the old pricing, the Google quoted $150,000 a year, but that's bespoke. We would have to spec out the requirements and understand what hit limits you need, and then put together a cost.
Okay, thank you. There's another one just come in actually. How do you utilize the audience that you've created to improve SEO, or is it just for paid media?
It's just like you can't, utilize them in terms of being able to market specifically to those audiences. You would be able to understand how organic traffic, like the reporting element of it, but you can't specifically target those audiences for organic.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think that's all the questions that we have. So just to tie up, well, firstly, thank you very much for your time today, everybody. We hope you found the insights interesting and useful. Don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any specific questions. And we look forward to following up and hopefully meeting some of you on the 12th of July, where we'll be able to go into a bit more detail about Analytics 360. Again, look out for an email this week with the link to the recorded webinar. if you do want to go back and take any notes. And finally, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to catching up with you at some point soon. Thank you.